I was one of the last flights that left San Juan that Tuesday before Maria. So I feel lucky and I feel blessed, but then at the same time, I felt guilty that I left my family, I left my friends, I left my colleagues, I left. Just seeing it the way I saw it before I left and then seeing footage of how it was aftermath, it was just, it was hard.
Hurricane Maria makes landfall in Puerto Rico on Wednesday, September 20th at 6:15 a.m. with winds of 155 miles per hour, making Maria the first Category 4 cyclone to hit the island since 1932. What happened since has truly been catastrophic for Puerto Rico.
I was so surprised when I saw blue tarps. I've been to Puerto Rico millions of times and the view has always been beautiful, but this time I saw a lot of tarps in the houses. I can see that there wasn't a lot of greenery. There was a lot of brown, broken trees. The water wasn't as clear as usually she is. She's like a like a light blue. I noticed from all the way up in the air that oh my God, Borinquen, this is Borinquen. And I was like, oh my God, it can't be true.
It was a very morbid visual. About, I would say, 2 miles off the beach coast, we saw this brown line in the water. And I knew right away that was the delineation between the clean water and the polluted water.
The Tuesday before Maria, when I get off my flight, that I turn on my phone. A couple of hours later, I noticed that my friend Elias Nunez, the photographer, posted my picture on his mural and wrote a passage on how Puerto Rico was about to experience one of the darkest and longest nights in history. And as I say this, my goosebumps all over my body, because it was an eerie feeling that morning when I left the island, and it was his last message before they lost power. And so I was compelled by the picture, and it was a beautiful picture, and I'm very picky. And when I saw the picture, I had the knot in my throat that I have now, and I got moved to write what I was feeling, how I remember the scent, the scent of the island, how I remember the apartment that I stood in, the melody that the crashing of the waves had, how the coquí sang, how I danced with the lake, how it was, to me, the picture it represents so much, but it wound up representing even more to the masses because people found solidarity in the photo and they used the photo to express what they were feeling.
It honestly looked as like if it was a third world country. There was poles all everywhere. And we're talking about in the San Juan area, the metro area, to where, everything goes there first. And they were still all over, poles all over. So as I got to the west side of the island, things were much worse on that side.
I couldn't tell much of a difference until I got to the campo. Then it was totally different. You can smell the smell of death, dead animals, decomposed bodies. You can see, I saw a lot of dogs dead, animals dead, horses dead.
It was like a sour smell, like when you open up a refrigerator and everything's rotten and it's bad.
When I couldn't hear the coquises that I'm used to hearing, and day 3 I couldn't hear one, I was like, my heart was broken. And I would cry and I would say, oh my God, there's no cookies.
I am begging anyone that can hear us to save us from dying. If anybody out there is listening to us, we are dying.
So it's really frustrating to me, especially knowing that Puerto Rican Americans are not receiving the aid that they deserve, especially when it hits close to home, right? People calling me, I'm thirsty. Do you think that you can get us some water?
people are dying within 7 days because the water's contaminated. Those things are frustrating, knowing that you feel like your hands are tied up and you can't do much because you're so far away, and the aid that you are sending, it's being, it's taking time due to whether it is political or whatever it is that's, slowing it down.
I felt like I had to take matters into my own hands because the U.S. government at the time didn't feel so worried about it. We had the president playing golf before he goes to Puerto Rico.
As far as celebrity status and governmental agencies, they were non-existent, and I know that you had this this collection done, but where's the consistency? Here you have people take charter jets to Las Vegas like they're taking a cab. Whatever happened to filling up those jets to take aid to your own country on a bi-weekly basis instead of doing this one-time show and then fade to black?
A community coming together to bring relief to those families impacted by this natural disaster. TaInas Unidas delivered over 200,000 pounds of food and supplies to remote parts of the island against all odds.
Here you have 9 women who managed to collect 100,000 pounds and get it to the residents of Puerto Rico on October 13th/14th, faster than any governmental agency, i.e. FEMA, the Red Cross, the United States military, and even the Puerto Rican government.
We made it happen. We all put our hearts together, and we were just like, you know what? We all love Puerto Rico. We're all going to do this, and TaInas Unidas built.
After collecting here, we did that massive collection. It was close to 100,000 pounds here. We came upon a stumbling block on, all right, how are we going to ship? And because there were so many hurdles via FEMA and by water, the container issues, we knew that that wasn't an option. So Lisa and I decided to take some money and physically go shopping in Puerto Rico to provide aid directly to the residents. It didn't matter if the donations came from here or from Puerto Rico.
Hit the first supermarket I could. I had rented a car because the only flights that were going into were through San Juan, Puerto Rico. So I got there the 18th. As soon as I got off the airplane, I went to the rental spot and then went to the supermarket.
The conditions in the airport were very poor. There was no air conditioning, there was no running water. The bathrooms were sealed off, inaccessible. Because there was no internet or electricity service, we had a very challenging time getting a hold of our car rental reservation. It wasn't accessible. They didn't find it for us, and they weren't able to find it. So we were there for about an hour, hour and a half, thinking about, okay, what's option B? And we went on foot to the nearest outside car rental, and we were lucky enough to get a minivan, that was our goal in order for us to pick up our first DHL boxes in San Juan.
The pricing was very high on certain things, and it was scarce. You couldn't find nothing out there in the supermarkets. And but when I got to the supermarket, I told them I was going to go to San Sebastian, Puerto Rico, and they were like, "Oh, they really need it on that side of the island." And I'm talking about people that are in need. They're telling me on that side of the island, they needed more.
When we pulled all our resources in order to actually get the shipment over there, we contacted everybody from an airline that we knew, flight attendants, TSA people, anybody who knew somebody from an airline. We asked if they could help us, and luckily we had some flight attendants who donated their pounds to us. So I believe every flight attendant had close to 300 pounds that they could take to the island. So what they would do is that they would get a group of 5, a group of 7, a group of 10, and they would donate to us, like, here you have 3,000 pounds here, you have 10,000 pounds over there. And so that's how we were actually able to send shipment, to the island before, like, the big plane?
It was sporadic because we had no, remember, Lisa and I went over there with the idea and the strategy of coming out of our pocket and going into a Walmart or Sam's or whatever retailer was open at that time and physically purchase aid. So once we got there, we found out that DHL did indeed arrive, and we hopped on it. And then when we got to San Juan, we received the boxes. We were so tired we had to stay in Mikey's house, Mikey's condo. And that night we were called, we received a phone call stating that we had a plane. Someone donated a plane.
Once we got the survival boxes and we pulled all our resources in the airlines, we started shipping. So then once we were shipping, we couldn't get over there on time. And there was so many things happening that it was very difficult to get a flight to the island and just go and not really, you know, be able to communicate. So like the thing is, if you went over there within the first week, well, the first week they weren't allowing commercial flights. It was after the second week that they started allowing commercial flights. And in Aguadilla, on the west side of the island, they didn't start taking commercial flights until maybe a month and a half after, because they had that whole airport under military control. So when the boxes got to San Juan, we had a source on the island called Barbie who helped us distribute. And what she did was she would pick up the boxes and she would go to some of the scariest places and gave the boxes to some of the most affected people who literally lost everything.
Hurricane Maria brought fear, change, a new start, an island destroyed. There's no choice but to move forward and rebuild, and better than before. This disaster will be the rebirth of Puerto Rico.